I think of social media like a risky behavior, like sex or drugs or alcohol. And in psychology, a risky behavior is very simply when you participate, you expose yourself to potential harm. And you know this better than most. That does not mean that it's all bad, but with something even like drinking, it means that yes, do I enjoy a glass of wine? Absolutely. But do I also know how to make this place safe? Do I also know the rules around it? Do I know my relationship with it? Do I understand the behind the scenes and have I grown up with it forever? Yes, I have. When you are a participant of social media, you are exposing yourself to risks like anxiety and stress as a result of using, like depression.
Welcome to Mind My Age presented by Total Life, therapy focused on healthier aging and covered by Medicare. I'm your host, Neil Embrar, and today we have a very special guest, Bailey Parnell. Bailey is a speaker, a humanitarian, and digital well-being expert currently pursuing her doctorate of education in learning and organizational change. Bailey's TEDx talk, Is Social Media Hurting Your Mental Health?, has reached millions, shining a spotlight on the hidden dangers of social media use. Bailey, it's such a pleasure to have you with us today. In your TEDx talk, you said social media is an unregulated space where we're all at risk. Can you share what led you to focus on the connection between social media and mental health?
Yeah, and we can even go through some of the risks and we can talk about how some of those risks are not just for young people, they are also for older folks. So, I think of social media like a risky behavior, like sex or drugs or alcohol. And in psychology, a risky behavior is very simply when you participate, you expose yourself to potential harm. And you know this better than most. That does not mean that it's all bad, but with something even like drinking, it means that yes, do I enjoy a glass of wine? Absolutely. But do I also know how to make this place safe? Do I also know the rules around it? Do I know my relationship with it? Do I understand the behind the scenes and have I grown up with it forever? Yes, I have. When you are a participant of social media, you are exposing yourself to risks like anxiety and stress as a result of using, like depression, feeling like you've been here forever and losing time, mindlessness. Oh my gosh, where did my day go? That might lead to frustration. And that's just you feeling the way that you feel as a result of using. There's also the exposure to risk like being cyberbullied or observing cyberbullying because you know that with emotional contagion, you only need to observe abuse for it to have a negative affect on your mental health. You don't even need to be the one being abused online. Many people here listening will know that sometimes you go online and all is negative news. Living in that space is a risk to mental health. And then again, it goes further into stalking and all these things. So there's a host of risks from participating here. And these risks are also true for folks who are aging and retired. I cannot say this enough. Risks like anxiety and stress and the negativity, still true for you. You are a living, walking human with a brain. Cyberbullying, maybe even more so if you are producing content. People who are aging, especially for women and especially for people of color, the abuse will likely be about that thing. Scams is another risk online. And I would call this a combination in the world of like misinformation, disinformation, scamming, and fraud. This is a rising risk for everyone because the quality of the scams are improving, but particularly seniors are most at risk there because of having not grown up with a level of digital literacy. Guess what another risk is? Comparison and self-worth. And it does not matter what age you are. It's really funny, and you may have even covered this in your work and on your podcast already, but it's almost like adults don't expect that when they end work or when they end that phase of their life and maybe they're entering their 60s or their 70s and they're like they enter a new phase of self-comparison that they didn't expect. And they're like, well, I'm supposed to be past this. This is like a young people's game. But then they end up in new communities and they're like, oh, that person seems to have built a really full life, or that person seems to have really traveled a lot, and they look really good for their age. Like all these sorts of things come up, and it's like a new wave of comparison that, guess what? Absolutely still happens to you, even if you're aging. Oh, they spend more time with their grandkids online. I wish mine would come visit me more. That's still very true, right? So these risks that are there for everyone make it a risky behavior. And the more you engage with a risky behavior, the more you need to understand it and put things in place so that you can get the benefits with less risk.
You've said social media isn't free, it's costing us our mental health. What steps can our listeners take today to start protecting their mental health while staying connected?
Yeah, and that's exactly why what you just said there about while staying connected is the whole other half of this conversation. I take a harm reduction approach, and there's a reason for that. And that means that I know there's also a lot of good here. And I literally would be the biggest hypocrite if I told you all get off social media. That's the only way that your mental health is going to grow. No, I know that's wrong because I was literally found on social media to be on this podcast. You found me on YouTube and then we connected on LinkedIn. I'm someone who actually experiences the benefits of this connection and community. 100%, this can happen. Learning. My mother-in-law follows Bollywood stars and cooks, and she's like improving even at she's 50 something and she's a fabulous cook, but she's like into this. So she's found now a way to connect her offline interests and hobbies. And she's designing, she doesn't, maybe she's not even doing it with intention, although she's heard all my stuff. So maybe, but she's designing a social media space that actually serves her mental health, whether she realizes it or not. Who do I love? What do I want to see? What brings me joy? What are my hobbies? What are the things I want to learn about? If following the news stresses you out, that does not need to be something that you follow on social media. You can continue getting that from wherever else you're getting that. That does not need to be your social media space. But so focusing on those good, to your question about like how do we stay connected and not at the expense of our mental health, first off, you go follow those 5 steps, those things that we talked about. This awareness here, even right now, helps you understand that, wait, I do have some control in the space that I build for myself. I don't need to be friends. I don't care if you're on Facebook right now or we're talking Instagram, wherever. You do not need to follow people because you worked together 20 years ago. Guess what I tell 26-year-olds? You do not need to be friends with someone on Facebook because you went to high school together. And that same feeling of obligation continues throughout every age right now. So you can create a space that serves you, where you are seeing people that you want to see and you're following brands that interest you. Like my Instagram feed is mostly not people that I know. It's like National Geographic travel bloggers and like some family, all that stuff, even though I post a lot of stuff that's unrelated to that. So you can do that. You can focus on the good that you get from this and make that the main purpose. And then tune in with yourself or tune in, even if it was your services that you offer, right? If you're tuning in with self-awareness and how you think about things and how you're feeling, I promise you that will follow you into your social media use. And it may seem, again, seemingly unrelated that the number one strategy I would give you is to build an offline life that you love and offline self-awareness, but I promise you it'll follow you there.
So, looking ahead, what trends do you see in social media and the impact on mental health, especially for older adults?
Yeah. Of course, you mentioned generative AI, and what I study is how I do study in my doctorate how generative AI could be used in slightly unrelated, but in learning and leadership contexts. However, through that work and through the digital well-being stuff I do, I am probably my chief concern right now is two that I just want everyone to be aware of, like especially seniors because of a correlation with less digital literacy. I am very worried about misinformation and disinformation. Disinformation is the spreading of fake news or fake photos or just made up stories unintentionally. And that's because it might be served to you and your cousin shared it and you trust them. That doesn't make it true. Now that's disinformation. Misinformation is done with malintent. Now, why I'm especially worried about this is democracies, actually. Democracy is, we're getting into a whole other area of my work right now, the more global leadership consultancy understanding, but y'all, democracies are something that you have to fight for. You actually have to work for them. And democracy is it is built on a shared understanding of truth. And because we present the truth and we debate on how to go about it. That is what it should be. So I'm very concerned right now about that. But for you, what that means is like it actually matters how you vote here. It matters that you pay attention to this stuff. It matters that when they are talking about the role that AI is going to play or social media is going to play, that matters for you too. It really does. It matters that when you're upset about what a politician or what someone has said a politician has done on social media, that you have me and Neelam in your head, in the back of your head, going, but let's just make sure. You know what? Let me read the platform because I don't know. I've seen 10 videos in a row of this president doing that. Must be true. No, that's what I'm worried about for the future. So I want you all to have us in your head being like, just because I saw it on social media doesn't make it true. Let me go elsewhere.
Bailey, thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights on digital wellness and mental health. For our listeners, if you're facing challenges with social media or you're confused about how generative AI may impact you, reach out to the resources available at the bottom of this podcast. And if you're having it impact your mental health, please reach out to Total Life. Our expert therapists are available to support you, and services are covered by Medicare. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more episodes on healthier aging. And remember, age with purpose and balance because your best years are still ahead.